come back. Did you always want to be an actress?
Yes, sir. That's a simple answer to that. Very much so. From when I was very young, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed doing it. My parents, and saw the talent. They encouraged it as a hobby, not as a profession. And later on in life, when it was time to decide as to what profession to do, when because I was playing with medicine and like all children, wanted to be a nurse, wanted to be an engineer, wanted to be a this and all that, a lawyer, not an engineer, wanted to be a lawyer, and and then gave that up, and then decided on medicine, but was always acting, was always encouraged. My hobby was always encouraged, and then when push came to shove, I settled on acting. Yes.
What swung the decision in favor of acting?
I knew that going into this, somehow or other, instinctively, I knew that going into this profession in Nigeria at that time was not going to be easy. And I needed to know that that was the space the Lord wanted me to be in, And when my fleece was answered and all that, I said, fine. So that's it. And I'm glad, and to be honest with you, because I knew this was the space the Lord wanted me to be in, it's one of the things that has kept me going in it, because it's tough. It is tough. It's tough all over the world. Let's be honest about that. But in Nigeria, it's triply difficult.
But you make it look so easy. What's so difficult about it? Which do you like to do more, being on TV, theater, or film?
I enjoy all of them. And you've
done all of them?
Yes, and I've done all of them. For me, theatre, I love the process of all of them. The process of theatre, you spend several weeks in rehearsal, and there's a logical progression in the work of theatre, and then when you're performing, you have the audience, that adds the extra ingredient that gives it that extra oomph. But then when you're now and then with television or film, with the camera, it's a totally different ball game. You're working out of sync. Your rehearsal time is definitely not as long as several weeks. Sometimes you rehearse. Your first time of rehearsing is just before you record. So and then for that is understanding how to be in the right emotional stage for the character, since it's being shot out of sequence. That is the challenge of camera.
But theatre isn't as vibrant as it used to be.
Yes.
The movies and the films seem to have taken over. But there's something special about seeing people perform live. Aren't we missing something? And what needs to be done to bring back the culture of theatre going?
Okay. You're absolutely right about that. Technology is such that, it has given people a lot of alternatives, of entertainment. Theatre is still being done in various parts of the country. One of the challenges is that there is no space, proper theatre spaces. We had this show at the Theatre Royal Stratford East, sponsored by the Bank of Industry as the cultural serving of Nigeria for the 2012 Olympics. And the Theatre Royal Stratford East was what became known as Nigeria House, and we took yes, in England, 3 plays: Wole Soyinka's The Lion and the Jewel, Fred Agbe's The King Must Dance Naked, and Sefi Atta's The Naming Ceremony. And so, with the group that went from Nigeria and the group that worked with us from London, merging, we were about a troop of 50. Now, For a lot of the group that came from Nigeria, many of them had not worked in a professional theatre before. For them, it was an eye-opener to see what a proper theatre looked like. And some of them had been working for years, most of them well over 10 years. I mean, that is so heart-wrenching that for the first time in your life, you see a proper theatre when you go to England. That is, I mean, I'm glad that they had that experience, you know, but I just felt it was so sad that you have a lot of theatre practitioners practicing in spaces, you know, and you know when we spoke to some of our the people who were running the theatre there, and we're saying for some people this is their first time in a proper theatre, they were shocked because the level of talent that they saw, they couldn't believe it, that this was their first time in a proper theatre. And there are just so many things that a proper theatre is supposed to have that we don't have in the spaces that we're making do with. Because if you have a proper theatre, then the cost at which we're running productions will drop. What's happening at the moment is that we're using event centers, you know, halls that are being rented as you know, because of events now. When you rent a hall for an event, you're talking of over $500,000 and more, you know, or more. Now, that's what our counterparts use to run a show for a week, whether it's in Britain, whether it's in America, whether it's in Canada. That's what we spend.
What has fueled the growth